What's up, guys? Here we go with car video number 2. Alright, so in this video I wanted to take just a couple of minutes and give you an idea about the programming that I'm going to start following here. This is Friday, so I'll be starting it as of next Monday. I'll probably put this video up on Monday so you can kind of get an idea of what I'm doing and kind of my overall vision as far as what I want to do with my programming, since I'm still kind of in an off-season type mode. I don't have any meets on the horizon, partially just because I've got still a lot of life stuff going on. I'm going to be moving next weekend. We've got the UPA meet at the gym going on September 19th. That's a lot of work to plan, so I'm still working on the details for that. And I've got, I think we're something like 10-12 lifters that are going to be competing at that meet as well. So my priorities are kind of in that direction, but I did want to actually put together some structure with my training, since I have been not so much winging it, but I've been following more of a couple of general concepts, and I've integrated a lot of things from what I learned with the seminar with Boris Shako and Misha Kuklayev as well. So what I'm going to be doing starting next week is kind of a volume build type program. I'm going to be keeping a rotation of wrapped and non-wrapped squatting. Like I discussed in some of my training logs over the last couple months, one of the things that I want to make sure that I keep a part of my training in the off season is some actual wrapped squatting. Historically, just going all wrapless training in the off season and then trying to throw wraps on just during meet prep has not necessarily served me the best, just because my squat sequence and pattern is different when I'm with wraps. I'm getting used to that, a little bit different force curve, being able to, learn how to sit a little bit more into my knees. Just there's some nuances there that are small but make a big difference for me in how I actually perform that movement. So what you'll be seeing is from week to week, I'm alternating from a higher volume, lighter weight, non-wrapped squat to a still decent volumed but heavier wrapped squat. How that progression is going to go is the first week I'm going to be working in sets of, I believe, 6 sets of 4, around 70% without wraps. Still kind of holding true to the volume recommendations of the Prilipin chart. And then on the following week, working in triples with wraps. So those will be about 80%. The third week, I'll be going up to 75% and working in, I believe, 8 sets of 3. And then the fourth week, I'm going to be working in doubles with 85%. That way I'm going, 70, 80, 75, 85. And then the second 4-week block, I'm going to go back down to 70%. I'm going to hit it for sets of 5, so that way I'm adding a rep per set, still keeping the volume pretty similar. I think it ends up being 1 additional rep, but just adding a rep to each set. The second week, I'll be back up to 80%, but instead of working sets of 3, I'm going to be working sets of 4. So I believe 6 sets of 4 with wraps, around 80%. Then the third week of that second month, we'll be back to non-wrapped. We'll be still at 75%. I'm going to be adding a rep to each set there. And then the fourth or the 8th week, I guess, back at 85%, this time working in triples instead of doubles. So what I'm doing there is I'm still keeping the majority of my training at or below 80%. I've got 2 weeks out of 8 that I'm kicking up to 85%, but what I'm doing is instead of just working up to top set in that lower rep range, I'm going to be keeping it at the most 85% and really building volume at those percentages instead of treating them like rep maxes. What I'm hoping to do with this is to build up a really good work capacity, an ability to hit heavier weights for set after set after set. That way I'm still pushing intensity and I'm still getting that practice with heavier weight, but I'm also not doing that at the expense of treating each session almost like practice. What I'm hoping to do is get the benefit of, lots and lots of lower rep sets, both with wraps and without, and just become a better squatter. A lot of the things that I've figured out over the last couple months is just, that I need strength in my quads. The front squats that I've been working have really helped with my squat and with my deadlift, just because that is something that I've typically been weaker at. And so kind of keeping that rotation, that is my goal with that. I'll be using a pin squat with the safety squat bar and a front squat as my two main squat accessories. Those are going to rotate from week to week. I'll be using the pin squats on the heavier day and the front squats on the lighter day, so I can hit those for a little bit higher reps. In the second month, I will most likely keep the safety squat bar, but I'll be working a pause squat instead of that pin squat. So that's the squat side of things. With my bench training, I'm going to still be following the heavy and light Alpha Project rotation. On the heavy days, I'm going to be working 3 doubles around 90%. At least for the first month, I'm going to continue to wear the slingshot for these sets. That way I can get some overload training and just really build up my triceps. On the lighter weeks, rather than hitting a triple, a double, and a single, I'm going to be hitting 6 triples around 75%. So my bench training won't involve touching any weight under 60%, and on the lighter weeks I'll be doing all my work with about 75%, just because I do need some heavier practice with my bench training. I've not notoriously or historically noticed a huge carryover from doing a lot of lighter benching aside from just building up some muscle, and I would rather do that with my accessory movements and kind of keep my contest lift training kind of pure almost. Also, to build up my pecs, I'm going to be alternating with some dumbbell work, both on an incline and flat, to just kind of continue to reinforce my pressing strength and keep some volume in with my direct pec work. Also using that as isolateral movements, so that way I do not develop any strength imbalance from left to right, since I do tend to be stronger on the right side. So my hope is that using the dumbbell benching as a more primary assistance movement is going to help address some of those things as well. As far as my deadlift training, I'm going to be putting that on a 4-week rotation as well. For the first month, I'm going to be working 3 sets of 5, somewhere in the 75 to 80% range. I'm going to rotate from working a stiff leg deadlift on the first week, a deficit deadlift on the second week, and a block pull from just below the shins on the third week, with the fourth week being a deloaded pull from the floor at around 60%. That way I'm still keeping some actual deadlift training in, but I'm prioritizing those variations that are going to build up my strength in different ranges of motion. Because of my deadlift style, I tend to struggle more at the lockout, and a stiff leg deadlift more closely mimics the position that I'm in once I get past the knees. So I need to take some time and specifically target that variation. I've used it as an accessory lift in the past, which has worked well, but I believe that what I ended up doing was pushing the volume of those just a little bit too much when being combined with my normal deads from the floor, or using almost like a deadlift party type of rotation where I'm hitting pulls from the floor and from blocks and a stiff leg. It just, I think, ended up being too much. At the very least, I could attribute that to the fact that I went multiple weeks of deadlifting that way without a deload. And so what I'm trying to do this time around is kind of keep ahead of the curve and allow myself to have that 4th week not quite off, because I want to keep that movement pattern fresh, but just bring the intensity down. That will also coincide nicely with the week where I'm at 85% with my squat. So I'll be deloading the deadlift the week that I go heavier on the squat, and then that 4-week rotation will start again. The second 4-week rotation, I'll be working 5 sets of 3. That way I can go a little bit heavier with each of those variations. But my hope is that by keeping the emphasis on each of those deadlift sessions on really pushing my amount of work and the intensity of the work that I'm doing with each of those variations as kind of the main focus, that I'm going to be able to get more out of them instead of being too gassed to really push those lifts like how they should be. So that is kind of it. I've got 2 main 4-week rotations. At the end of the 8-week cycle, I will most likely deload and then kind of see where everything stands as far as that. But these are kind of the conclusions that I've drawn just by taking the last 12 weeks and kind of learning a little bit more about myself, really just focusing on building volume and keeping weights light enough to really re-groove my technique. And it's my hope that the extra emphasis that I'm putting into training what those weak parts or what those weak points are will really carry over and help to further facilitate the form changes that I'm trying to make, and then maybe allowing the overcoming of that weakness to be what drives the change in the form instead of just focusing on changing the form. gym. So we'll see. This is kind of my latest hypothesis, if you will. I'm going to test it out over the next 2 months, and I will check back with you. But that's kind of a view into what I'm going to be doing as far as my training. Be sure to keep up with my training log. I'll be posting each of my sessions each week from this, and kind of giving you a commentary on each of the sessions and letting you know how everything is going. So that is it. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to my channel. If you haven't done so already, connect with me on Facebook and Instagram. And as always, be sure to check out the gym at savagegym.com.